In honor of Cinco de Mayo, our very own Brian Sozzi is live at the New York Stock Exchange with the CEO of Constellation Brands. Now, this is the company, if you don't know, that makes Corona and also Modelo beers. Brian, a fun assignment for you.
Yeah, a tough day for me, Shauna. Bill, good to see you actually in the flesh. You're real. We actually exist here. Good to see you here today. Look, it's we're supposed to be celebrating Cinco de Mayo, but it was a tough day for the markets. As the leader of a brand and a company like Constellation Brands, what do you think after a sell-off like this?
It's always a tough day when you see this, but fortunately, we're in an industry where we're an affordable luxury, and I think especially on a day like Cinco de Mayo, people are still ready to have a beer, have a glass of wine, or have a spirit.
Well, I think after a session like this, you can use it probably about 8 Coronas because it's been a long day. And I should say your stock was barely down on the session, but talk to us a little bit about the recovery in the beer business.
Well, our beer business is doing extraordinarily well, as we've talked many times before. Modelo in particular. Modelo was up 15% last year, and we really think this is about to become America's favorite beer. So we couldn't be more excited about it. And Corona Extra had just a spectacular year last year, up 9% as well. And obviously we're in our new fiscal year now, and we're off to a great start. So we're very excited about our prospects.
What is the state of bars in America?
Well, we're finally seeing a lot of opening. Obviously, you look at various markets, and some places are open and some less so. But fortunately, as you're starting to get to spring, you're seeing more outdoor dining, which gives people a chance to continue to engage in the on-premise.
Is it different between the U.S. and overseas? What are you seeing overseas?
Well, we have less susceptibility to overseas because most of our business is here in the U.S. But it really depends on the country, and it can vary widely. Fortunately, in our main market here in the U.S., we are seeing a lot more opening, and you're seeing a lot of consumers with pent-up demand to be out in the marketplace.
I've viewed this view that peak inflation doesn't exist. That's what everybody's talking about right now, but I talk to a lot of food companies. They're not seeing it. They're seeing double-digit levels of inflation. What are you seeing?
It's going to be wide-ranging this year. I think it depends to some degree on how much you're hedged. We're hedged a lot and more than we normally would be, which I think will help. But it's not clear that we have hit the peak just yet. I mean, we think it's going to be high inflationary pressures throughout our fiscal year.
Where are you seeing the most pressure?
I think you see it in things like transportation, particularly in things like trucking. You're seeing it in some commodity goods that are input costs. We see it in glass, as an example. So there's a wide range of things, and it's a wide range of differences depending on the particular commodity. But certainly inflation is going to be a challenge throughout the year.
Is it difficult to push through price increases in this environment? You do sell a category that is price sensitive, and it's very competitive.
It is price sensitive, and I think we have to be very careful with our consumer. We're not interested in losing the consumer in the process. We're going to maintain what we normally do, which is 1% to 2% pricing over the course of the year, which we think is judicious in this kind of environment. We do not want to lose our consumer.
Hard seltzer, peak?
Well, I think it's certainly over the peak from what it was when it was growing like a weed. But certainly we think it's still going to be a key factor. And, we're doing some things. Corona Seltzeritas have just been introduced as an example.
What are those?
It's just what you think it is. It's a bit of beer product with a bit of Rita type flavoring. It's terrific. Very, very refreshing.
What about CBD drinks? Are you in that market? Do you want to get more aggressively in that market? You still have the stake in Canopy, right?
We do. And Canopy's very much focused on drinks. They think that that's going to be a critical part of the use factors going forward. And they've got some outstanding products that they have in Canada. And there's also some here in the United States, like Quattro, as an example, that they've introduced into this market. So we believe that's going to be an important part of the overall cannabis piece as you go forward.
Bill, this is the first time me actually seeing you in person during the pandemic. It's been like 3 years of interviews. What people, they don't understand that. But, as a leader, how has the pandemic changed you, and how has it changed the company?
I think you have to stay much more focused on what you're going to do. It's much more difficult to do a myriad of things when you're not together as a group. So we've tried to keep the focus very tightly in on what we think is going to be critical factors for our company and for the consumer. We've communicated much more internally than we probably had historically because it's important to keep our team engaged. And we've been very, very pleased with how that's worked, but it's been much more of a challenge, and it's been a learning experience all the way along. But communication has really been the key.
Last question for you, acquisitions. Do you see yourself in the market for an acquisition that brings you into a new market?
largely we're focused on the capital strategy that we've had, which is paying down our debt. We've just finished an ASR on our way to paying down $5 billion to our shareholders through dividends and share repurchases. We're very focused on that. We've done some minor bolt-ons. We added Lingua Franca and Austin Cocktails. You know, Austin Cocktails was the very first female founder investment that we made when we started that program, and we've now brought it in-house. So we are doing some minor things, but we're very focused on our capital allocation plan that we've talked about before.
Can we go grab a beer now?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll end it there. Constellation Brands CEO Bill Newlands. Shauna, back to you. Again, very tough assignment. I'll see you in about a week from now. I'm going to get some beer.
You guys both deserve a cool drink right now. All right, Brian Sozzi, great interview as always. Thanks so much.